Welcome, Pewter Report readers, listeners, and viewers to a post-game podcast. Pewter Report podcast. Boy, this was not a good night. This was not a good night for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers or their fans. I'm Scott Reynolds here live at Raymond James Stadium, where the Tampa Bay Buccaneers lost a game that really wasn't as close as the score indicates. And alongside me is J.C. Allen from Pewter Report. And we're going to talk about this debacle from start to finish. But boy, JC, yes, exactly. The final score of this game, 41-31 was the final. The Chiefs really took the opening possession after a untimely Rachaad White fumble right out of the gate. Two plays and two players, right, that did not play well last time they were at Raymond James Stadium in Super Bowl 55. We're talking about Patrick Mahomes, the quarterback, and Travis Kelce. And all of a sudden, two plays and a touchdown on the board. The Chiefs have momentum. The Bucs don't. And the Chiefs never relinquished momentum the entire game.
No, you pretty much called it. They had pretty much two kickoffs to begin the game. They elected to defer. They got the ball in the second half, but they got the ball in the first half too, thanks to that Rachaad White. Now, Rachaad White kind of turned it around, had himself a better game and they gave him a shot right away.
Yes.
They gave him a shot. But that really just put the Bucs into an early hole, set the tone for what the game was going to be. And then both sides, offense and defense, just struggled to get back into a rhythm and really, make any stops or really kind of consistently put together drives to the end.
Yeah, and as always, the Pewter Report podcasts are energized by Celsius. And boy, I don't know what the Buccaneers pregame drink was, but it sure wasn't Celsius. That's right. Celsius powers active lives every day with essential vitamins and energy. 7 vitamins in every can of Celsius. JC, you get the energy that you need when you drink Celsius. But there's no sugar crash. Why? Because there's no sugar and there's no preservatives. It's the healthiest energy drink around. And boy, the flavors are just dynamite. The vibes, the Arctic vibe, the tropical vibe, the peach vibe, those are kind of like their flagship flavors right now. But there's a ton of other great fruit flavors. Orange is my favorite. I started today with an orange Celsius. My wife Ashley loves the watermelon. There's wild berry, strawberry, guava,
strawberry
kiwi,
lemonade.
Strawberry lemonade.
My favorite.
Yeah, there's a host of flavors. Folks, do yourself a favor. You've heard us talk about Celsius. If you've yet to grab a can, go to Celsius.com, click on the store locator, find where they sell Celsius near you, whether it's a convenience store, a grocery store, a health and fitness store, and try some flavors. Once you find the ones you like, go ahead and order them on Amazon, buy them in bulk with the subscribe and save some money, and they ship them right to your house. And boy, if we could get some shipped to Raymond James Stadium the next time the Buccaneers play, and you know what, it's going to be next week against the Falcons. The Buccaneers now have lost 2 straight games, and they have got to get this thing turned around sooner rather than later. And this was a real crappy week for the Buccaneers. And in talking with the players after the game in the locker room, JC, they weren't using this as an excuse. And I talked to Raheem Nunez-Roches, the defensive tackle for the Bucs, and he said, we have to show up and play.
Right.
We can't avoid this game. But the mental stress of a hurricane,
the displacement, everything.
Getting your family, right, to Miami.
Right. And
then dealing with all of your family in a hotel room while you're trying to recover from practice and recover from the Packers game.
Just do extra studying, film prep, all that stuff. It was definitely a difficult situation for talking to some of the guys, especially a younger guy like Logan Hollow I talked to, who said, he doesn't want to make excuses, but there was definitely effects felt from this game that kind of carried on into the game itself. And I'm characteristically for the Bucs to drop not just 1 at home, but 2 at home, but back-to-back games at home. And, again, they're not trying to make excuses, but as I'm sure you felt, I felt, almost all of Florida felt, there was some uneasiness about this week as a whole.
Yeah, there was. And the thing is, is they were not using this as an excuse, but boy, there's a valid reason. The one thing Raheem Nunez-Roches said was they didn't get to recover physically with that rest time, that downtime that you need.
Right.
He said, I'm still feeling the Packers game, and I got to play the Chiefs. And it showed up in the trenches, JC, because this Bucs defensive line was manhandled right from the start. And I don't know if Shaq Barrett's comments about, well, this offensive line didn't look much different from the Super Bowl. Boy, this new Chiefs offensive line sure looked different because they controlled the line of scrimmage. They were able to run the ball at will. And as Jamel Dean told me after the game, the worst thing you can do is allow teams to run on you because then they can pass on you whenever they want.
Right.
And they never got the Chiefs to be a one-dimensional team. A staple of Todd Bowles' defense. He wants to make teams pass the ball because that sets up his pressure packages on third downs. Boy, third down was not kind to the Buccaneers tonight, JC.
Oh, no, it was not. No, it was not. And as talk about the rushing, 189 yards rushing, that's just not something the Bucs have typically done. But their third down packages, I mean, they were just atrocious. 12 of 17 they let up for the Chiefs. And you just can't have that and expect to win games. Coming into this game last week against the Colts, the Chiefs were just 3 of 10. And on the season, they were just 12 of 30. So to allow them to have the success they did was a detriment to why the Bucs lost.
It really was. And it wasn't just the third down conversions, right? I mean, they gave up, 75% on third downs.
Right.
They were 8 of 9 at halftime in terms of the Chiefs converting third downs. And it was absolutely atrocious. That led to the Chiefs having an almost 2-1 time of possession advantage over the Buccaneers. And obviously we know that some of you weren't happy about this. We appreciate everybody who's staying up in the chat with us. The
penalties too. They got 2 first downs on penalties. And while the Bucs weren't heavily penalized, only 5 for 40, still you're giving up first downs, and that's going to allow the Chiefs to continue to drive, which you can't have.
Yeah, exactly. And the other thing too is they were not able to pressure Patrick Mahomes nearly as much as they did during the Super Bowl. I mean, it wasn't even close.
No.
And the one thing too about pressures, and I know there's a lot of analytics people that say pressures are just as good as sacks, if not better. Listen, we have a picture tomorrow that I'm going to show you on tomorrow's Pewter Report podcast. It's of Patrick Mahomes literally being wrapped up by Carlton Davis, okay? And his knee is still not touching the ground. And then you've got Shaq Barrett, whose hands are like this, and you can see the ball almost get tipped. So Patrick Mahomes is getting pressured on third down by Carlton Davis and Shaq Barrett.
Right.
Those are legitimate pressures, but he still completes the pass to Juju Smith-Schuster on third down to convert a first down. And there's a couple of instances like that. Devin White pressured Patrick Mahomes. He came screaming in and didn't get the sack. He pressured Mahomes, but he flicked the ball into the end zone for an easy 2-yard touchdown to Clyde Edwards-Helaire.
Right. And think of how many times Mahomes was pushed out of the pocket, or how many times that he had to make plays with his legs. I mean, those are all count as pressures, but sacks are what is the bottom line. Yeah. Even quarterback hits are a little bit better than pressures. At least you got to the quarterback, you hit him, you disrupted him. But even still, I mean, you saw 2 examples that you just gave of plays where they still converted it or a third down or a touchdown, and you have to get home. The Bucs were able to do that 3 times this game, but that's not enough.
You're right. And the thing, JC, too, is you could just sense, right? There's still some players on that Chiefs team that were losers here in the Super Bowl, right? I mean, Tyreek Hill's gone.
Right.
4 out of 5 of the offensive linemen, aren't starters or gone right now. This is a bit of a new look offense for the Kansas City Chiefs. But what we did see from Andy Reid and from Eric Bieniemy was just creative play calling. I mean, the imagination that just tormented the Buccaneers, RPO game, stretch plays, bootlegs off of stretch. There was so much happening, so much for the Buccaneers to defend. And boy, this was not the week that you wanted to be displaced by a hurricane to prepare for the Kansas City Chiefs offense in everything Andy Reid and Eric Bieniemy can throw at you.
Right. And the way this Bucs defense was playing coming into it, I mean, 27 points allowed. I mean, you look at what they have, 41 points this
They
week.
gave up 28 at halftime.
It was crazy. I mean, it's not what the Bucs are used to. I think Logan Ryan going down early with that foot injury kind of hampered them as well. It takes away what the Bucs like to do, having those 3 versatile safeties back there to be able to present different looks. But as soon as they're on the board first, it was all downhill from there because, limits what you can do as a defensive, play caller. And we saw the effects of it.
Yeah, and we saw, if you look at the stat sheet, right, Devin White and Lavonte David both over 10 tackles in this game, but boy, those linebackers, as many plays as they made, they missed some too.
Plays were huge.
Lavonte David had an interception at the goal line.
2 of them.
Really should have had 2, but certainly one down there by the goal line.
Right.
And that's a play that, as a playmaker, you've got to make. And we saw him on the very first play to Travis Kelce, right? He got caught looking at Patrick Mahomes. Travis Kelce juked him, had a step on him, and it was a touchdown. So
a far cry from the Super Bowl. Lavonte was shutting him down for the most part until he got some garbage yards later in the game. But, I mean, as I said to you, I mean, talking 2 years down the line now, Lavonte's gone through some serious injuries. And
he's older.
He is a little older. Maybe
and to Lavonte's credit, he's played well to start the season. It's just that tonight he had to be great because Travis Kelce was great. And he wasn't. And Devin White, same thing, right? I mean, Devin White made some plays but missed some others, right? Including that we talked about pressure and sacks, the difference, right? If Devin White gets that sack on Patrick Mahomes, maybe they are forced to kick a field goal instead of getting that touchdown, which happened literally 2 seconds later.
Right. And maybe you're still in it, and give the Bucs credit. The offense did their job and we're never really out of it. You look at 41-31, they were still right there. The defense just couldn't come up with stops. It was conversion on third down after conversion after conversion. And at some point, when the Chiefs are holding on to the ball and sustaining drives that much, you're wearing down that defense. And by the end of the game, I don't think they had much left in the tank. You saw guys start coming off the field with injury, with Carlton Davis with a shoulder stinger, and you can tell guys are gassed. Yeah,
and again, not making excuses. JC and I live about 10 minutes away from each other. Right? He lives in Lutz, Florida. I live in Wesley Chapel. Matter of fact, the Wesley Chapel
right there.
Walk-ons locations in between our houses, right? And our region largely got spared from any damage of hurricanes. We had some high winds. We had a little bit of rain. It really wasn't bad in our neck of the woods. There's some Buccaneer players that live close to us. But the problem is when you're in Miami and you and your family have been displaced.
You don't know what's going on.
Yeah. The stress that I felt, and and you felt too, and we cover this team. We're not out there practicing. We're not preparing to play. We're writing stories. We're doing Zoom press conferences. And you still feel that stress. So I'm not making excuses. But for another team, a lesser team, I think the Buccaneers probably win this game. I think that they were at a disadvantage. We talked about if this game was not at Raymond James Stadium, it being a real disadvantage. It was still a disadvantage considering that you could feel the wear and tear mentally and physically on this Buccaneer team. They got gassed. They just didn't have any momentum right from the get-go. They were always a step behind, it seemed, this game, and in several steps behind it on the scoreboard.
You woulda, coulda, shoulda. I'd like to see what this game would have played out to be if that, first kickoff. I think it would have been much closer. I think the fans brought the energy, even after that early touchdown, when they were back on defense and Kansas City had the ball. They were loud. They were into it. Because I feel like they've never felt the Bucs were really. I mean, once you got Tom Brady, you always think you're never really out of the game.
JC, you bring up a valid point. What if they go down and score a touchdown? Right? What if Mike Evans gets the ball rolling and the Chiefs, the Bucs are up 7-0? Right? It might be a different game, but that wasn't what happened. And the Chiefs got the momentum. They never surrendered it. And we'll talk about the Bucs offense a little bit, but
I think one thing too, them playing here instead of having to play in a neutral zone like a Minnesota, definitely I think we'd be looking at potentially even a worse loss than what we saw tonight.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that as well. I think if you're looking for some takeaways, Todd Bowles came out again. We saw his reaction after his first loss as a head coach last week. he comes out and owns this particular loss. He said, "This is on me. This is on the coaches. It's on the players." But he took the blame for this. He's not just the head coach. He's the defensive play caller, right? It's his responsibility to get this team ready. Excuses, reasons, Hurricanes be damned. They still had to play this game, right?
Right.
So I'm talking with Tristan Wirfs after the game, and I asked him, I said, "What did Todd Bowles say after this loss?" And he said, well, the first thing out of his mouth was, this is on me. This is on me.
Logan Hall said the same thing.
This is on the coaches. And Tristan said, and Mike Evans stepped up immediately and said, "No, coach, it's on us, the players. You're not out there. We are. The players own this." And say what you want about Mike Evans, who became the all-time yards from scrimmage leader tonight, surpassing James Wilder. But that's some real leadership there. And boy, Mike Evans had to step up. He wasn't there last week. Probably if he plays against the Packers, this team wins that game.
3-1.
Mike stepped up tonight with a pair of touchdowns, just over 100 yards receiving.
Yeah, I mean, he did the thing, that we know best, and especially those in the red zone, those shoulder fades, one on each side. He's known for that. And Logan Hall said the same thing. That coach stood up and said, "This is on me." And he said, "That's not true. It's on the players. We're the ones. They put us in position to execute. We just didn't execute." And you look at what the Bucs have been able to do in the first 3 games on defense, and you look at this game, and it's completely night and day. It doesn't match what we've seen.
That's right.
And I don't think it will match what we see going forward either. I think this is a game to learn from. Losses are the biggest teaching moments.
Yep.
I think they'll look at the tape. They'll just look at it, probably laugh and say, "What the heck were we doing out here?"
Yeah.
And they'll make the adjustments. And next week when Atlanta comes to town, I think you'll see back to what we have seen the first 3 games of the season.
I agree with you, JC. I will say this. Football typically, and we've seen it in college football, it's the same thing in the NFL. The Buccaneers are playing 17 one-game seasons.
Right.
There can be some momentum. You can get on a roll, or you can get in a funk, right? You can get in a losing stretch. And let's hope for the Buccaneers' sake that this losing streak ends at 2 games and not 3. This is a very critical game against the Atlanta Falcons here, because they want to come in and, guess what, run the football. And they're seeing an awful lot of opportunity in this game. Is it a blueprint? We'll find out on Sunday when the Bucs play the Falcons here at Raymond James Stadium. But certainly the Buccaneers are going to have to do something. Otherwise, they're going to be going from one hurricane, which was Clyde Edwards-Helaire in the Chiefs ground game. I should say from Hurricane Ian to Hurricane Clyde Edwards-Helaire to Hurricane Cordero Patterson and Marcus Mariota and Tyler Algier and all of those players that the Falcons have, whether it's the quarterback, the running backs that can hurt you on the ground. One thing that I will say, we talked about minimal hurricane damage up in our neck of the woods. Right. One thing that just really stood out to me for the first time was my Florida Lanai curtains. They are so well made. They survived some serious winds. And folks, I'm not kidding. I was a little unsure about how these curtains would hang on to my lanai, and if they would make it through some wind gusts that were over 60, maybe 70 miles per hour at times up in our neck of the woods. But they came through with flying colors. The reason why I went with Florida Lanai curtains for my backyard, and I've got the curtains like the ones you see there on the blue to the left, is because of the value. These are well-made curtains that allow me to do 2 things: keep my back patio, my screened-in pool, my lanai cool, and shade it, and also give me privacy. Because in Florida, we love the warm weather, but the most common complaints about spending time outside in your backyard is the lack of privacy, where homes are built on top of each other these days, and the brutal heat from the warmer months. And we're in October; it's still hot, JC. The lack of privacy and too much sun can drive you inside and keep you from enjoying your screen enclosed pool or other outdoor spaces as much as you would like. Florida Lanai Curtains solves both of these problems with the privacy on demand patented outdoor privacy curtain systems and their custom made screen enclosed shade sails. Their flexible installation options and high quality products give you privacy and shade just where you need them. Privacy on Demand's outdoor curtains are made from that well-known brand of marine canvas, backed by a 10-year fade-free warranty and available in over 100 colors that's going to enhance the look and comfort of your outdoor space and match the back of your house. Their unique shade sails are made from the Sola mesh fabric, and they come with a 10-year warranty against degradation, and they're built to give you shade and UV protection for years to come. If you want or need privacy or shade, you want more freedom to enjoy your outdoor spaces, invest in Florida Lanai Curtains. Visit their website, lanaiCurtains.com, to find out more about their amazing custom products and do your own hassle-free instant online estimate. Call 813-337-2511 to schedule a free in-home consultation. That's Florida Lanai Curtains at lanaiCurtains.com. Well, JC, we've got some music blaring in here.
Oh, yeah.
It's not from us. There's no party going on here at Raymond James Stadium. No. This is not the party mood. But we hope that you did enjoy the party at Walk-Ons.
Oh, so much fun.
And guess what? There's another Bucs game Sunday, and we're going to have another Walk-Ons party, and it's called the Celsius Pewter Report Tailgate Show. And that's going to be, again, at the Walk-Ons at Midtown Tampa. And it's presented by Age Rejuvenation. So make sure that you're there. Kickoff Pewter Game Day, which is next week, is going to be at 1 o'clock. And the Pewter Report Tailgate Show, presented by Age Rejuvenation, live at Walk-Ons, that's going to start at 11. It's supposed to be a.m. So sorry about the typo. 11 a.m., not 11 p.m.
They're going to be there all day and night.
They're going to be there all day and night, yes. Well, I'll say this, JC. We need to talk about the offense here. If there are some positives, right, if you're going to look for the glass half full, the Bucs point scoring was a challenge for this team coming into this game.
Right.
They put some points on the board, having Mike Evans back from suspension, having a healthier Chris Godwin helped out. We didn't see much of Julio Jones. He departed with as Todd Bowles said, he was nicked up.
Right.
But they put some points on the board, 31 points. That was kind of the magic number for this team over the last couple of years on offense.
Right. They scored 30 points, averaged 30 points. But, even though they scored the points, it wasn't quite enough. And you look at the way they did it, mostly through the air, Scott.
Yeah.
And we've been talking about how they want to establish the run. They want to establish the run. Well, tonight it was through the air that really won them this game, or almost won this game.
Yeah, and again, you're looking at minus 3 yards on 3 carries for Leonard Fournette.
That's bad.
6 yards rushing and a touchdown for Rachaad White, who, kind of atoned for that fumble. I mean, it was a very costly fumble at the beginning of the game.
It's huge. It changed the whole direction.
It did. At least the kid scored his first touchdown, made a couple plays in the passing game on those outlet passes by Tom Brady, and bounced back from that. I think the kid has a bright future in this offense and in this league. But this running game has been ground to a halt. And and one of the things that I looked at on the 2 negative runs that Leonard Fournette had, Cade Otton, who missed all of the previous week's practices with the passing of his mother, then he comes back to a hurricane and he's displaced to Miami.
Right.
He had 2 costly, I won't say blocks, non-blocks really, that resulted in those 2 negative
tight
runs.
Enough to the line. You were pointing that out to me out there. Just, he needs to be tighter in his base and closer to the tackles.
Yeah. George Karlaftis just came in and knifed in.
Ran right through him.
Yeah.
Ran right through him. One tight end, though, he stood out. He made a nice catch.
O'Keefe.
O'Keefe. The Keefe cheering was in full swing. He made a nice catch to set up Mike Evans' second touchdown of the night.
Yeah.
The passing attack was there. The running game was just awful. I mean, you talked about has fallen off from that week 1 matchup when Leonard Fournette ran for over 120 yards, and now to them only running the ball 6 times.
Yeah. They
only ran it 6 times for 3 yards. Sure, they got a touchdown out of it, but still, they got to be more balanced. But they've got to find a happy medium because they're going to win games by passing the ball.
Yeah.
But you can't not run the ball, and you can't. I don't know what the step is in this offensive evolution for them to find this middle ground here. but they've got to do it. They've got to do it quick, and they've got another opponent coming up next week in Atlanta who's got some big beefier guys on that defensive line that they're going to have to run against.
And you know what? I mean, we talked. Maybe there's some momentum from their win over the Cleveland Browns. Maybe there's not. We'll see. The Buccaneers have owned the Falcons as of late. I can't. Well, the last time the Falcons won was Jameis Winston's last game. He gave them a great parting gift.
Oh, that's right.
A pick six.
In overtime, right?
In overtime, right? That was at the end of the 2019 season. And then you've got, a couple of losses in 2020, a couple of losses last year.
Yeah.
The Falcons typically play the Buccaneers.
Comeback win. One of those was a comeback win.
Yeah.
They almost lost.
Right. Typically, the Buccaneers will play close up there in Atlanta. It's been kind of blowouts here.
Right.
I don't know that this is going to be a blowout situation, though, for the Buccaneers based on the way they've played. I think a lot of people would say, looking at that schedule, right, and just saying with these four opponents, Dallas in week 1, New Orleans at New Orleans, the Green Bay Packers at home, the Chiefs at home, the Bucs would be lucky to be 2-2.
And here we are.
Right.
But who would have thought both of those losses would be home losses?
Yes, back to back.
That's why this next week's game is so important.
Yeah.
First of all, because you need to right the ship. Second of all, it's a divisional opponent.
Yeah. You have a chance to go up 2-0 in the division if you win.
And you can't lose 3 in a row at home.
Right.
You just can't. I mean, there's things you can do. Great. It's great if you can win on the road for sure.
Yeah.
Especially when playoffs come. If you're not a high seed, you prove that you can win on the road. But you got to be able to protect your own stadium and win at home with your fans behind you, because it has not been pretty these last 2 games. And granted, there's been injuries and there's been some situations that have popped up, but you can't make excuses for that.
That's right. And it's going to be interesting to see what Todd Bowles has to say after he looks at the film. He was very accountable after the game. He said they stunk. Run defense, pass defense, red zone defense, third down defense. They stunk. And he gave the Chiefs props. And talking to, Raheem Nunez-Roches, who is one of our go-to guys at Pewter Report, because he gives great, candid answers. He doesn't pull any punches. He was asked, he said, how much of this is missed tackles? Because there were some missed tackles tonight.
There were.
He says there's definitely some missed tackles. But then I asked him, I said, was this a hat on a hat thing? He says, yeah, this was a hat on a hat. The Chiefs offensive lineman got on the defensive lineman and just opened up some holes. A lot of times Edwards-Helaire and Patio were not touched until the second level. That's why you saw the volume of tackles by Mike Edwards, Lavonte David, and Devin White. All of those 3 players had close to a dozen tackles or more. Right. And that's never good. You want to have some defensive linemen with some tackles too, because that means tackles for loss, runs for no gain. Level.
Right. You don't want, and this is the second week in a row that Mike Edwards has led the team in tackles. Last week he had 13, he had 12 this week.
That's not good.
That means, and he'll hover close to the line of scrimmage.
Yeah.
But most of the time that's meaning that he's gotten through not just your first level, but your second level.
Yes.
And now he's moved into the third level. And usually those are for bigger, yardage plays, at least a first down, which we saw multiple times. I will say there were a few positives that we can take away from this Bucs team. The first off being, it seemed that they've got the flow going a little bit on third down. They're 60%, 6 out of 10, which was a big improvement over the last couple of weeks. And
they got hotter as the game was going, because they started off 0-2 on third downs, and really that first quarter they couldn't do anything right on either side of the ball.
Bad.
And they were chasing the scoreboard at that point in time. Yes, the offense did really make some strides. And I don't think it was against necessarily, like a prevent defense or a relaxed defense, because Steve Spagnuolo was still bringing pressure. He was bringing pressure throughout the game.
Chris Jones he made his presence felt numerous times.
Yeah. And Snead, he brought the linebackers. He was still bringing pressure. That's his MO. He's like Todd Bowles. He's like a shark that smells blood in the water. He's going to come after you. And I think this offensive line and the backs, they held up fairly well in pass protection despite the pressure. But what it did force was Tom Brady too often, especially in the first half, to check the ball down, check it underneath, not throw to the sticks and beyond. That didn't help them early on third downs. Then they were able to kind of get clicking a little bit. But this offense really, and maybe it's the fact that Donovan Smith played today, was not 100%.
Right.
Robert Hainsey was in his 4th career start. Luke Gedeke, his 4th career game/start.
Right.
Shaq Mason, his 4th game in Tampa Bay. Whatever it is, there's not much of a vertical element to this Bucs passing attack like there has been in years past.
Right. And one wonder, is it the offensive line? Is it the coaching? Is it a combination of both? That's something we'll see, I think, as we get into a couple more games here. The onus all offseason was run the ball, run the ball, run the ball. We want to be multiple. We want to be able to establish the run.
They can't do it.
Hasn't quite worked. And it's weird because Shaq Mason came in as one of the best run blockers at right guard in the league. And usually, typically, younger guys are better at run blocking than they are at pass blocking.
Right.
And we kind of saw that in that first game. We're like, okay, they're run ball because these guys need to get their feet wet, especially in pass protection.
Yeah.
And now the pressure got to them. Brady was only sacked for one time, but he could have been sacked at least 2 to 3 others. He got himself out of multiple sacks. But
what's a little stunning to me is Shaq Mason comes in as a noted run blocker. Obviously, Tristan Wirfs is one hell of a run blocker as well. You've got 2 guys there side by side, and yet this Buccaneer team can't run the ball to the right side. I know that tight ends are part of that run blocking equation, but certainly that B gap should be open between Mason and Wirfs, and they're just not having any success there.
It got so bad to the point where they brought out the tackle as a jumbo tight end. Yeah, because the tight ends are just struggling.
I think they're going to have to.
Was out there.
Yeah,
because the tight ends are just struggling in the blocking game and running situations.
Yeah, and I maybe that's a positive sign of things to come that they go back to the jumbo package. This offense, I wrote about it a couple weeks ago. They're clearly missing Rob Gronkowski. Right.
Oh my!
We talked about the vertical element too. That's that seam play down the middle to 6'6" Gronk, right, where you throw him open,
third down,
and he makes catches. They miss him in the run game and the pass game. There's no doubt about it. I don't know if Tom Brady has called, texted, FaceTimed, DM'd, smoke signaled, carrier pigeon, send a raven. I don't know what he's done.
Whatever you need to do,
but
make it happen.
Make it happen.
Maybe a Wonka bar. I don't know, something like that. Golden ticket. Because I think if Gronk comes back, there's definitely a huge addition. And one of those additions prior to this game was in the red zone. Yeah. Gronk is such a factor in the red zone. And we've talked about the red zone. What are your struggles in the red zone? That first week against the Cowboys, they could have blown them out.
That's right.
But they struggled in the red zone. This week, 4 for 4.
I know.
They actually improved their red zone play. So, there are definitely some issues that they need to, correct, but there are some issues that are taking those steps as well. And red zone was one of them. So red zone, third down. I think that, as they look at the tape, they're going to see what really worked in the passing game and try to implement that sooner rather than later, because you got Tom Brady. You went out and signed 5 wide receivers who have Pro Bowls to their name. You got to throw the ball. As much as you want to run it, you got to throw the ball, and you got to do what works. You can't be stubborn. And I think maybe that's been part of the reason why they've struggled these last 3 games is because of stubbornness we got to get the run game going. Yeah,
and I think, too, I'm a big proponent of the run game. I'm not a big proponent of the run game on first down. I would prefer to throw the ball on first down, and if you have a positive play, then maybe you run the ball on second down. If you don't, throw it on second down. Run the ball, be opportunistic in doing so, but don't start by predictably running the ball on first down.
The numbers tell the tale, Scott. They had 27 first downs. 23 came from passes. 2 came from rushing. I mean, the numbers tell the tale. With Tom Brady, you have a guy in here who can make the throws, who can pepper the field and throw guys open. You got to throw the ball, and you got to do it early, because then you're putting yourself in situations that a 2nd and 7. Now you have 3 yards for the first down. Now you run the ball. There was a point, 3rd and 26, Scott. 3rd and 26. You're throw a little bubble screen to Cole Beasley, who then slips and falls. I'm falling myself off the screen. That's how disappointing that was. You know, they've got to do better. I think they will do better. I know they can do better.
Yeah.
And we'll see what happens with a week of practice. And I think Todd's going to lay into him. I mean, if this was Bruce, man, that press conference would have been something.
It would have been salty. There would have been some language for sure. It would have been for kids. We've talked about Rob Gronkowski coming back, and I don't know if he's going to or not, but certainly, if he's feeling like he needs to, if he's concerned about feeling good, right? Because I mean, right now he's partying, he's feeling good, right? Maybe he doesn't want to take those shots to the ribs. Maybe he doesn't want to, to get hurt anymore. I understand that he's played a long time in this league and played at a very high level. But maybe he needs some age rejuvenation.
As we age, our hormones decrease, both for men and women.
I was tired all the time, had no sex drive.
I was groggy.
I felt like I was 80 years old because everything hurt.
I came to age rejuvenation because I was tired all the time.
Bioidentical hormones has really made such an impact in people's lives.
I actually enjoy shopping now.
Got all my energy back.
Mind is sharp.
I feel like I'm 18 again.
It was perfect for me.
Get with age rejuvenation. Do it now. Don't wait.
Call Age Rejuvenation today.
Speaking of tight ends, that's John Gilmore, former Bucs tight end. He is one of the co-hosts of the Celsius Pewter Report Tailgate Show, presented by Age Rejuvenation at Walk-Ons. And guys, if you want to feel better, go to Age Rejuvenation. Lose weight, feel great, have better sex. You might have even seen Age Rejuvenation as the new sponsor for my SR's Fab 5 column on pewterreport.com. Well, I'm an Age Rejuvenation customer too, just like John. I'm almost 2 months into my treatment, and I feel younger. I'm sleeping better at night. That's the first thing I noticed, JC, was getting a more restful sleep where I wake up and I'm not tired. And the other thing, too, is I'm having more energy throughout the day. I don't need to have 2 Celsius a day like I was having to. But thankfully, I don't have any issues in the bedroom. But I did turn 50 this year, and energy's a problem. It turns out I had low testosterone, like most men in their 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, and 80s. It's just nature, fellas. And what Age Rejuvenation is also seeing is low testosterone even into males in their 30s. So if you're feeling sluggish, if you're not feeling your usual self, if you're feeling like you have low energy, or if you have any problems in the bedroom, go to Age Rejuvenation. Low testosterone affects everything from weight loss to energy to stamina, but there's a way to fight it. I did that with testosterone therapy. I have more energy as a result. Visit agerejuvenation.com. Age Rejuvenation with 5 Tampa Bay area locations to serve you. Don't wait. It's the best thing you can do for your health. Trust me, I should have done this years ago. Lose weight, feel great, have better sex with Age Rejuvenation. JC, we're gonna have another Pewter Report podcast where we're gonna dive into this game a little bit more tomorrow. We're gonna hear from Todd Bowles after he watches the film, unless he burns the film, and then he's not gonna watch it. But
there are some good things to take away from this, but there's definitely
mostly on the offensive side.
A lot to fix on the defensive side, and that's shocking because he's a defensive coach and that's his side. Those are his guys.
Yeah.
Those are his guys that have gone to war. And we heard from them last week, we're playing for Todd. We're not just playing for us. We're playing, he's our guy. We're playing for him. And they did not play for him.
Well, I think it speaks volumes though, that of all players, Mike Evans, right, wide receiver, Pro Bowler, team captain, he was the one that stood up immediately.
Right.
After Todd Bowles, seconds into his post-game speech to the team, and said, guys, this one's on me. Mike Evans stood up and said, no, coach, it's not. It's on us. It's on the players. In reality, it's on everybody.
Everybody.
The coaches, the game plan, the head coach, the players, especially on the defensive side. Again, I'm agreeing with you. I think if there's a bright spot, at least the passing game clicked. This is a pass-first offense. You have Tom Brady, and you've got these talents, especially Mike Evans, who shined tonight. Chris Godwin.
20 targets between the two of them. We'd love to see that.
Like the good old days.
Right.
31 points just wasn't enough because the defense couldn't stop the Chiefs' offense on the ground, couldn't stop Mahomes, who was a magician out there. Certainly couldn't stop him on third down.
I try to have faith. I was like, they're going to stop him here. I even bet Scott they're going to stop him.
You lost some money, didn't you?
I did not win that bet.
Yeah.
But, they'll come around. They'll turn around. Maybe Bruce Arians comes down with that red marker, red pen, and starts making some adjustments to the game plan on the offense. Defensive side.
I appreciated JC having some faith in the defense in the second half. I just looked at the statistics. I'm a defensive guy, and I said, JC, I think it was 3rd and 5. It was 3rd and 5.
3rd and 6.
3rd and 6, yeah. And he said, they're going to get a stop here. I said, JC, this defense has given up 8 out of the 9 last 3rd down conversions. They're not going to do it here, and they didn't. Folks, we appreciate all of you for sticking around for this late edition of the Pewter Report podcast. That's what happens when you got these Sunday night and Monday night games. They're tough, especially when the Bucs lose. It's not fun for you guys. It's not as fun for us to cover because
not fun for the players.
It's a somber locker room. It's everyone's up for this game, especially after the hurricane. It's Sunday night football. The game stayed in Tampa. And this team just didn't have enough in the tank to deliver today. They didn't have the momentum, didn't make enough plays. But next week is another game.
13 more of them, too.
And it's a big one, JC.
13 more games this season. They're in a good position right now, 2-2. There's nobody else. I don't think there's anybody else that are really above them.
Yeah. Panthers lost.
Right.
Saints lost. Right. Falcons won, but the Buccaneers can, as you said, take a 2-game lead in the division. That's big, and especially since they have one win away from Rachaad and then one win at home if they beat the Falcons on Sunday, and they've usually done that, so we'll see what happens. But lots to break down this week. This can be a big week. You got to make sure that you are visiting pewterreport.com. We've got tons of great Bucs content there. That's the wrong banner. There we go. There's pewterreport.com. Best Bucs coverage. Make sure that you are following us on our YouTube channel. That's Pewter Report TV. And we appreciate everybody who's subscribed. If you subscribe, you're going to help get us closer to 10,000. We're getting there. We're getting close. Make sure you hit the thumbs up, the like buttons on all of our content, whether it's the post-game press conferences, the player interviews that we do, the analysis pieces that we have up on Pewter Report TV, and our Pewter Report podcast.
Yes, please.
We'll be back tomorrow at 4 o'clock to break down Todd Bowles' post-game press conference, I should say day after game press conference. And also we'll have a chance to look at the film and make our own assessments. We'll have more content up on pewterreport.com tomorrow. We got Bucs Monday mailbag, my 2-point conversion column. We've got game snaps and other analysis pieces that'll be up as well after we get some sleep. It's been a late night. For JC Allen, I'm Scott Reynolds saying thank you for tuning in to another edition of the Pewter Report podcast.
I don't know if we can do